Friday, March 8th, and welcome back to the Damon Bruce Show. Mofo Friday. I mean, what more could you possibly want? Thanks for being here once again. Means an awful lot that you are. And we begin with some breaking news before we even get into free agency. But it is great to have you back here. Thanks for watching Damon Bruce Show, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches, baby. Yum. We'll tell you more about them in a second. 49ers have a one-year contract extension with Colton McKivitz, the right tackle, who is often criticized, not good enough. But for a $7 million contract extension, that sounds about right. He stays with the team through 2025. It's a little bit of a thank you for taking on a job that you probably weren't designed to even have. Colton McKivitz is offensive line depth. He's also your starting tackle at this particular time. Now, if that changes, again, he can play either guard spot. He might even be this team's best center if you asked him to be. So there's value. There's versatility with Colton McKivitz. Is it sexy? No. Are people excited about it? No. But you know what? It's the right move. Given that he was your starting tackle and you reached the Super Bowl with him, he wasn't such a weak point. You didn't reach the Super Bowl. I'll give you that much. It's the right move based on the free agent outlook. Who could you pay or overpay to come in and take over his job that would do so much dramatically better than he that it's worth that exorbitant price difference? I don't know if that's out there right now. When it comes to current draft position as they sit at 31, the run on what are projected to be elite tackles will probably be done. So what are you going to do? I guess you stick with the girl that brought you. And that's what we're doing here at the Big High School Dance. The 49ers are sticking with the girl that they've been dancing with in Colton McKivitz. And at $7 million, it's also a price point that lets him know you are not the final answer. We will bring in competition. You will be looking over your shoulder. I think it's a good deal. It's the right move. It's the right price. Nothing to really argue with there. Matt Mayoko thinks that another contract extension for a less than ballyhooed veteran or two could be in line to be some breaking news this weekend. I would start with Charlie Woerner. I would make sure that Woerner is back because he is the perfect other tight end to George Kittle. He is almost as good of a blocking tight end as George Kittle is, which George Kittle could maybe even be this team's starting right tackle if he wanted to put on some weight. Like, that's how good of a blocker Kittle is. But Woerner in the run game does great things for the 49ers, things that you don't even notice until you go back and you start going through tape and fine-tooth, combing through what just happened. Why did McCaffrey pop for 15 yards here? What do you know? That is Charlie Woerner sealing that block once again. He is a good player. I would want him back. He is wildly familiar with the complicated run scheme that Kyle Shanahan wants out there. So I would bring him back as well. And then after that, we're moving into the land of move on from. I mean, the Niners got some choices to make. I think that McKivitz back for a 7-year re-up, no big deal. That's a good choice. I would bring back Charlie Woerner. Just about everybody else, it's probably going to be move on time. John Feliciano is a guy that I would also think about bringing back at the right price, and I think that Feliciano will give you the right price because he wants to chase that Super Bowl down. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Before we get into free agent Friday frenzy here, we've got another piece of news to pass along. It came out last night that the 49ers have hired an offensive coach. They moved on from Steve Wilks, who I actually think had a better Super Bowl than Kyle Shanahan did. But they move on from Steve Wilks. Does Shanahan need a little bit more help in that offensive room? A run-the-ball coach, just somebody to bounce more ideas off of? I think we've all agreed, yeah, he could use a guy like that. Well, the guy like that is now former Raiders offensive coordinator Mick Lombardi. He's been signed to the 49ers coaching staff, but he has not been given an official title. So there is no offensive coordinator on his business card. He has been with the 49ers from 2013 to 16. He spent 4 years working at the end of the Harbaugh era into Tom Sula and Chip Kelly. So he's familiar with the franchise, which probably, helped him get the job. He was dismissed along with Josh McDaniels and GM Dave Ziegler from the Raiders last year when they went full-on house cleaning. I mean, holding Raiders' lack of success against any one person is a foolish thing to do unless that person is Mark Davis himself. There's an amalgamation of it just doesn't work out for whatever reason that sort of follows the Raiders wherever they go. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to pretend to tell you that I know Mick Lombardi well. He is Mike Lombardi's kid. I do know that. So football lifer in the room now. What do you think of this, coach, for Kyle Shanahan to bounce ideas off of? If Kyle likes the hire, you should like the hire too. Is it sexy? Does it mean everything's going to go perfectly and smoothly from here on out? Nothing to worry about? Of course not. But there you go. 2 pieces of news to start today's show. An offensive coach is now in the coaching room in Mick Lombardi, and Colton McKivitz isn't going anywhere as the 49ers figure out how to address their offensive line issues and depth, bringing him back for a $7 million extension through 2025. That's not bad business. That's not bad business at all for the 49ers. Welcome to the business at hand. Let me tell you about my business partner, and that is this guy right here, Ike of Ike Sandwiches. You will not find a better sandwich anywhere in the world today. Over 100 locations now. My man Ike has got restaurants dotting the West Coast and expanding eastward. Go ahead and download the Ike's app. You can find out right there if there's one near you that delivers, that can pick up your order, that can bring it to you. You can go and get it yourself. And when you order off the Ike's app, you start earning your way towards free sandwiches. And if that's not a direction you don't want your life pointed in, you and I, we're not going to get along very well. Free sandwiches is a key to happiness, and Ike wants to set you up with that key. Go ahead, get yourself a sandwich at Ike's today, next week, this weekend. You'll be very, very happy that you did. That's my guy right there. Damon Bruce Show, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches. So NFL free agency, my friends, officially begins on March 13th. That's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, our time, West Coast time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern. That is on Wednesday when you can literally start signing guys. You can start negotiating, though, this coming Monday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. our time. We're going to start hearing who's coming back, who's going forward, who's landing where, because all these things sort of happen under the table, even though there's an agreed, it can start happening under the table on Monday. That just means it all starts happening under the table, today, So the good news is Larry Krueger and I are now bringing you Wake Up with Damon and Larry on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we will be at it first thing Monday morning for the early signing period, early negotiating period, and we'll be back on Wednesday setting you up for This Is the Deal Done Day. And then on Friday, we'll be able to recap a very busy week of NFL free agency. So I hope you're subscribing. I hope you hit like on this video, the other videos that you see. And if you hit that notify button, you'll be sure to not miss anything. And that is the kind of love that I can really get behind. Memberships, of course, are available if you consider yourself one of the initiated. Memberships are available. But again, just liking and subscribing does an awful lot of good for the old algorithm and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for doing that. When it came to last year's free agent bonanza, we saw the 49ers jump in right away. They burst out of the gate for Javon Hargrave with an $84 million deal. Depending on who you asked, was that worth it? Differing returns. At times he played very well. At times he disappeared for games on end. It's kind of the nature of a defensive tackle. But, when you pay a guy $84 million, you really want him to pop an awful lot. What are the 49ers going to do on their defensive line? Obviously, Chase Young is a big decision for them, and we'll get into some free agents that they might think about, might kick the tires on, but I'm going to basically say outside of, I don't know, I really don't. I don't know who the big free agent dollar number grabber is going to be for the 49ers this year. I don't think they're going to make a big splashy. Well, what do you know? They got Chris Jones away from the Kansas City Royals. I'd be surprised. As I was talking about with Larry earlier today, it's tough to spend an awful lot of money on one position in free agency and then come back the next year, same position, spend even more money. That's tough to do. 49ers need to sprinkle it throughout the roster a little bit more. Obviously, whatever happens with Brandon Ayuk will set in motion the necessity to look at your wide receiver group. But that's where we're going to start this free agent conversation. Let me ask you, would you be interested in Odell Beckham Jr.? At this point in his career, would you be interested in Odell Beckham Jr.? There could be some interest on the 49ers' part. There is some interest apparently on Odell Beckham Jr.'s part that he would like to be involved with the 49ers. For the right price, maybe, but for the wrong price, that's a full-on hell no. You know, for a song, I'll sign Odell Beckham Jr. if I'm the 49ers. But to go out of my way to overextend, to commit too many dollars to that guy, it's just the wrong time to be doing it for several reasons. Number one, he is first team, always hurt, All-American. He is always dealing with not just dings and nicks and bruises, but torn ligaments. Like there's just not an awful lot of health, I think, in Odell Beckham Jr.'s playing future. Beyond that, you know, and I don't begrudge anybody interest in other things. But whenever you find out a wide receiver is really, really interested in fashion, to me, that's just a red flag. That means you're not here for the grind of it all. You're here for the luxury of it all. Like when Odell Beckham Jr.'s career started backsliding, pictures of him appearing on runways at Paris's Fashion Week were hand in hand with that. For a minute, Odell Beckham Jr. was one of the 4 or 5 best pound-for-pound players in the entire NFL. When he was in his absolute heyday with the New York Giants, he was spectacular. He was special. He's a player coming out of college Jim Harbaugh really wanted. That's the guy Jim Harbaugh wanted. Jim Harbaugh got A.J. Jenkins. But Odell Beckham Jr. had his moment in the sun. I believe the sun has set on his moments. He was with the Baltimore Ravens just last season. The Baltimore Ravens threw him 64 balls. He caught 35 of them. His catch rate just tanked. I mean, if you're not going to separate because you're a burner, if you with quick cuts are always getting hurt and you're not much of a possession receiver, what really good are you? Because I can tell you also that getting Odell Beckham Jr. to buy in to downfield blocking in the running game, that feels like it's going to be a little bit of a, well, let's have another talk about this, Odell. He hasn't seen a 1,000-yard receiving season since 2019. That, to me, is the most damning stat of it all. He doesn't produce anywhere as glamorously as the name Odell Beckham Jr. used to sound. It's not the right time to get into the Odell Beckham Jr. business. He made the incredible catch. We all know. We get it. But that's it. That's where the career highlight ends, I think, for him. So I would not be interested in Odell Beckham Jr. I really wouldn't. 35 catches for 565 yards and 3 touchdowns. Feels like Ronnie Bell should be able to do that, right? Feels like if you brought back Chris Conley, he should be able to do that. Feels like if you ever got Danny Gray elevated from practice squad to where now he's actually on the roster and playing, it feels like he could do that. The more you look at the wide receiver situation that the Niners have, that free agency offers, now, and there's a very interesting wide receiver class coming up in this draft. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, don't ignore history if you want to make sure you're not repeating it. And find me the rookie receiver that has ever had a good year under Kyle Shanahan. Like, I'll wait. Who is the rookie receiver who in his first year really made an impact? They're hard to find. Kyle is demanding on his wide receivers. So even if they did draft a guy who you were very excited about coming out of college, asking that young player to produce the level that Brandon Ayuk just produced in a year where the deal is you better win the Super Bowl, that's an awfully big ask. It really is. There's absolutely no doubt that if Brandon Ayuk were absolutely a full-on free agent, he would be the number one free agent in the entire class, probably, certainly at wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is in his prime. He is exactly what the 49ers need. He has turned into exactly the player that they want, that they covet, that does all the downfield blocking with attitude that you could ever hope out of a wide receiver. This is where Ayuk really excels in the Shanahan plan. Oh, and he's the first since, what was it, Crabtree? To have back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers? Back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He's the first in a long time, 1,300 this last year. That just doesn't fall off the streets. I don't even think you can go buy that in this year's free agent class. Like, looking at the wide receivers in this year's free agent class. So you're telling me you want to add Marquise Brown? Marquise Brown has got some serious speed. There's no doubt about that. He was a burner for the Arizona Cardinals. 51 catches, 574 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But he's 5'9", 180 pounds. Just doesn't feel like the type of player Kyle Shanahan would want. Not that Brandon Ayuk is some statuesque prototype, but Brandon Ayuk has got some thickness to him, and he's got mad squabble in him as well. Kendrick Bourne. We're all familiar with Kendrick Bourne. He's a free agent wide receiver. Doesn't separate, though. He's a yards after catch guy, and he got that reputation playing in the 49ers offense. He spent his first 4 seasons with the 49ers. He spent the last 3 seasons in New England. 37 catches, 406 yards, and 4 touchdowns on a broken New England offense. So it's tough to evaluate him from a production standpoint. But for the price, for the what price, the right price, is Kendrick Bourne that guy? I don't know. Certainly not more than Brandon Ayuk. I really hope that the 49ers figure out a way to re-sign Brandon Ayuk. When I look at there's a rumor for Odell Beckham Jr. No, I don't. No, thank you. Not at this point in time. Marquise Brown. No, let someone else overpay for that guy. Kendrick Bourne, if the price were right, maybe. But you should be able to get out of, again, Ronnie Bell, what you'd be able to get out of Kendrick Bourne. And you'll be able to do that at a much better price than a free agent price for him. So it is a little bit of a head scratcher if you say goodbye to Brandon Ayuk. Or you could solve this problem by not saying goodbye to Brandon Ayuk, and I really hope that's the way the 49ers go about attacking this problem. Brandon Ayuk stays. Kyle Juszczyk, I'm sorry. Somebody has to go. You're probably the guy that's got to go. And then maybe there are 1 or 2 other surprising cap cut casualties that we see over the weekend leading up to Monday. Maybe Arik Armstead is one of those guys. But as Larry and I said earlier, tread lightly. Tread lightly when you think about getting out of the Arik Armstead business. Again, we began this show this afternoon by letting you know that the 49ers have re-upped with Colton McKivitz. Again, re-upping with Colton McKivitz for $7 million sounds a lot better to me than paying Jonah Williams more than 10, paying Trent Brown more than 10. I think you draft multiple offensive linemen and you just work on versatility and depth through what you got. And if you do want to sign an offensive lineman in free agency, I think I got the guy. Because if you're really asking me, where was the biggest problem on this team's offensive line all year? It was right up the middle. It was right guard, center, guard. Aaron Banks did a good job. Right guard is a little bit of an adventure. At center, I would add Andre James. He's been with the Raiders. He comes as the second-ranked pass-blocking center this year in terms of win rates. 96.5, he won his pass block. I mean, that's about a perfect grade almost. This guy is the pass blocker that Brock Purdy needs in front of him. That's where I would spend my free agent money on this offensive line. Otherwise, I would be drafting. Andre James, center from the Raiders, is where I would look if I were the 49ers. So, biggest immediate needs will obviously reveal themselves with some decisions that get made about Chase Young. Like, what are you going to offer Chase Young for a 1-year show it to me and prove it deal? Has Chase Young's Super Bowl saved him from the broken faith that he might have had with his terrible performance leading up to the Super Bowl and just jogging at times during the NFC Championship game? Again, you jog in an NFC title game. That stays with coaches. That stays with coaches. Again, Feliciano, what gets him back? I would bring him back at the right price. Charlie Werner, I would bring him back at the right price. You look along the defensive line, you see that Zadarius Smith, the D-end out of Cleveland's available. Bryce Huff, D-end from the New York Jets. They almost franchised him. They didn't, though. So he's going to command big dollars. What are you going to do on this defensive line, and will that be where a big splashy signing comes from starting on Monday, next week? We'll all find out together. I'm looking forward to it indeed. Other NFL news to get through today, the fact that Russell Wilson, very much out of fashion in Denver. He might be very fashionable with the New York Giants, or the Pittsburgh Steelers are now very much linked to Russell Wilson as an interested party. Russell Wilson giving up 8 players and crazy draft picks and then resigning them to a ridiculously bad, built-to-be, dead-on-arrival contract was bad, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson playing for a veteran's minimum? I mean, that could be one of the steals of the NFL year. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers and you've done the whole Pickett thing, you've done the Trubisky thing, you've done the let's try to figure this out and cobble it together thing, Russell Wilson for a few years in Pittsburgh at the right price, I would do that. If I'm the Steelers, I would do that for sure. The fans will hate Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh right until he wins. And if he wins, you're good. When you don't win, that goody-goody two-shoes bit starts rubbing people the wrong way real fast. They found that out the long way in Seattle. They found that out real quickly in Denver. And believe me, they're not even going to be interested in hearing it in Pittsburgh. So we'll see if Russell Wilson ends up with the Steelers. The Bears, they got their young, talented corner, Jalen Johnson, wrapped up 4 years, $54 million guaranteed, 76 overall. Drew Tranquill, who is supposed to be the weak link that the 49ers were able to pick on with Christian McCaffrey in the Super Bowl, wasn't much of a weak link when it was all said and done. 3 years, $19 million to re-up with the Chiefs, so he's not going anywhere. When it comes to free agency, the teams that you can expect to be very aggressive are the teams with the most cap space and deepest dollars. The Commanders lead the NFL right now in cap space, $91 million, followed by the Patriots with $88 million of cap space. Titans are at 75. Bears are at 75. Texans are at 75. Now, if you just walked up to me, hey, Damon, you're an NFL free agent. Position doesn't matter. Who you are, I don't care. What team do you want to attach yourself to? And just that group, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Titans, the Bears, the Texans, number one. Not only do I get a playoff team from last year, not only do I get an up-and-coming team with a likable head coach, not only do I get C.J. Stroud, but I also get the state of Texas and the lack of state income tax. Watch the Texans make a little noise here in this free agency. And that's the big show today. We'll have a little Warriors here in just a second. But I told you we would never, ever waste your time. Free agency gets going next week. Monday, 8:30 West Coast. Be right back here on this channel. Wake up with Damon and Larry. We're doing it on Wednesday and Friday as well. 11 o'clock shows throughout the week as well. West Coast time. That's always going to happen for you. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's like we've been we haven't pulled back from the NFL, but there's a lot of people who are still stinging from that Super Bowl defeat. There are a lot of people who just said, look, I got to put this team down for a little while for my own mental health. I get it. We start next week. For real again. Free agency, baby. And then on April 25th, obviously, we got the draft. Good time to have you here. Good time to be a YouTube channel who talks about this kind of stuff, because we're about to get a whole bunch of this kind of stuff coming our way. Before we get into Club Blues, God, the freaking Golden State Warriors told you a lot about themselves last night, didn't they? And it sucks because, they come out and they beat the brakes off the Milwaukee Bucks. Sure, it's a back-to-back, but these are the Bulls. Like, you should be able to beat the Bulls at home here. The Warriors lost a tough one last night. And it might be even more punitive than just one loss where they really can't afford to be losing any game, because Steph Curry rolled his ankle right when they were about to be healthy. The healthiest of their entire year. The healthiest they've been all year was the Milwaukee Bucks game. And look at how good they were against Milwaukee. Now, the wait and see on Steph Curry, all the early indications from any postseason press conferencing last night, it wasn't good. Like, nobody came right out and said, yeah, Steph is going to be out weeks here. But nobody came out speaking in any way that made you think anything other than, well, Steph's definitely not playing on Saturday, and he's probably, missing at least 2 games on this road trip coming up, if not all of them. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. When it comes to Steph's ankle, who knows? Unfortunately, Brandon Pajemski smoked that layup that would have tied the game late. They had no answer for DeRozan in crunch. God, he just, no one, you're not going to hear this anywhere else, because I don't think anyone is going to say this out loud. And people are going to disagree with me, but then listen to my explanation, and maybe you will agree with me. You know who DeMar DeRozan reminds me of a little? Luka Doncic. Like, totally different guys, different body types, but what they both do is take their time to get whatever they want. Luka Doncic is never in a hurry. Doesn't look like he's ever dribbling quickly or moving quickly or efforting really hard to get anywhere on the court. He just gets there. He just plots his way to where he wants to go. He gets there and he gets his shot up. That's what DeRozan does. Without even breaking a sweat, without running hard, without skittering all over the basketball court, DeRozan just methodically gets to where he wants to be for that mid-range pull-up, and he hits it over and over again. And you can double him, and it doesn't stop. You can switch on him. It doesn't stop. He just gets what he wants. He just gets what he wants wherever he wants it. to beat the Bucks like that and then lay down and lose to the Bulls. That's why this team isn't going to be doing much this postseason. I mean, that stunk. And, oh, by the way, Steph Curry is at the epicenter of any good thing that could ever happen to the Warriors, and what are they going to look like without him? If I'm Steve Kerr and I got to get through several games here without Steph Curry, I'm starting Chris Paul. I'm bringing Clay back into the starting five. I'm moving Podziemski to the bench. And Moody, you're getting an awful lot more minutes. Be ready. And as I said to Larry earlier today, as we talk about all the moving parts and guys who got to step up for this team to not miss a beat between now and Steph Curry's return, you're not going to hear anything about Andrew Wiggins. Like, no one ever looks at him and says, all right, you, buddy, it's on you now. You are the number one. Has there ever been anyone who doesn't try to grab the fame the way all number one picks in the draft seem to want to grab that fame? Andrew Wiggins would rather jog between the free throw lines than bust his ass in Steph Curry's absence, and I can guarantee you'll feel that. You know, now that Curry's out, here comes Wiggins, said no one. No one believes that's going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think the Warriors believe it's going to happen, and I doubt Andrew Wiggins is going to try to make it happen. I challenge you, be something other than boring, Andrew Wiggins, and do it while Steph is hurt. The team could really use you. And you want to know what also totally sucks on a personal note? For the last few weeks, I've been like healthy as an ox, no problems. Tonight, Jillian and I have plans. She's been working very hard all week. We got some friends in town that we're supposed to go out to dinner with. Then we got another friend in town who's having her birthday tonight, and we love her, and we want to go meet her at Tony Nick's, which is one of my favorite bars in the city, much less North Beach. And of course, I'm feeling like verklempt. Like I'm feeling, I can feel myself getting sick right now. I feel a little sicker now, 32 minutes into this show, than I did at the top of this show. Damn it. If it weren't for bad luck, I don't know how much I would have. Anyways, there we go. If you're listening on the podcast today, I thank you so very much. Make sure you're back for Monday. It's free agent week starting next week with Wake Up at 8:30. Yours truly and Larry Krueger. Damon Bruce Show starts at 11, all times, West Coast. Like, subscribe, notify. And please do remember, sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone. Plug it in, get the disco ball. Wait, I turn this one on. Boom. There we go. All right. We begin with Efren Williams. Damon, you're becoming like a cult leader. You got members in the chat saying you love everyone regardless. Jim Jones level. Look, I'm not going to make you drink any cyanide. I'm not going to put any Kool-Aid out. Just help yourself. It's not going to be that bad. Jim Jones obviously has his ties to Indiana as well and the Bay Area. So Jim Jones and I have quite a bit in common, right up until the ridiculous cult leader who kills those who follow him. That's where I'd like to think we separate just a little. But thank you, Efren. Thank you. Let's see. Old Dirty Hungus, again, speaks my language. If you hate free sandwiches, we exist in different universes. Absolutely. I hope if Ikes is listening, please sponsor Damon Bruce forever. Well, I would never think a sponsorship would last forever. But I certainly hope that Ike and I will be rolling together as friends for a lifetime, and we are both, I think, going to be doing good business for each other. So maybe this is a forever friendship, forever partnership. I hope so. But yeah, I would never expect anybody to advertise in perpetuity? That's a big ask. Again, effort again. You guys need some 70s funk soul music on the Wake Up Show? Again, if you're willing to pick up copyrights, we'll play the music. My man, R.I.P. Cougar Rebel, Chase Young, Gregory Hargrave were not impressive at all. Not really. They didn't do a lot. That entire defensive line regressed. That entire defensive line just had an underperforming year. There's no way around it. Chase Young would get $20 million from the Raiders. I don't think so, Steve. They got Max Crosby, and they know what a real one is. I don't think they're going to add a guy who real one status is not exactly conferred. Nick Nice, no Odell Beckham, no R.I.P. Cougar Rebel, no Rockin' New Era 84 if he's cheap as fuck. I mean, you have to almost give it away for free. Otis says, Odell Beckham Jr. could be a good slot receiver for the Niners, but would he be willing to take a backseat to Debo and Ayuk? Here's the thing. I don't think he's got a choice but to get in the backseat behind those guys. Odell Beckham Jr., whatever it is, he don't have it no more. Artist formerly known as Odell Beckham Jr. Amen here. I'd rather keep Juwan Jennings and spend some money on special teams. Michael, I agree with you. He wants to be closer to the Kardashians. Not anymore, though, right? That's over, isn't that? Again, there's a lot of athletes that had a lot of fun with Kardashians. The rule is rent, do not buy. Damon, you mean the great AJ Jenkins? Oh, did I miss the great? I'm sorry about that. AJ says he's late today. It's all right. We're not keeping. We're not taking attendance. Not taking attendance. Just glad that you're here. Glad that you're here. Glad that you made it. I don't care when you watch, as long as you do. What else we got going on? Dude, I really do. I feel my throat just clenching. So we're not going to take any calls today. As a matter of fact, I got a big night tonight. Daddy needs a nap before he goes out. I mean, that's a big deal. Jillian and I, we got a babysitter coming tonight. We were supposed to go out at 7:30, which is when we start thinking about nap time, actually, sleepy time. But we're going to go out at 7:30, which means we're going to be out past midnight tonight, which of course means I'm getting sick. God damn it. By the way, I knew when I said it didn't sound right. JJ saying, I'm a little behind here, but Crab's never had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Anquan Bolden was the last to do it with us. You're right about that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sporticus, you are right. Russell Wilson is so not Pittsburgh Steeler culture. But what is Pittsburgh Steelers culture right now? They haven't had a quarterback in such a long time that I don't think they can be picky. Adding Russell Wilson on a veteran's minimum is, I don't know if there's a move that makes them better. The truth is, Russell Wilson didn't have that bad of a year for Denver, but he was a bad fit. He was unliked by his coach and by guys in that locker room, which just tuned out the goody-goody two-shoes routine very, very early. Here we go. This is the best way to end today's show. From Red Jet Shell. Her meeting is over. She's in listening mode. She's with us, but she says, happy International Women's Day to all the gorgeous powerhouse queens of the tribe called Plus. And indeed, some of my most loyal listeners are the ladies that are out there. And I thank all the ladies of the Plus from the bottom of my heart indeed. Happy International Women's Day. Happy Domestic Women's Day. Happy Women's Day to all the women out there. And even you men, happy Women's Day to you as well. We love you ladies. Thank you for watching, for supporting, for clicking like, for clicking subscribe, for clicking notify, for possibly becoming a member of the initiated. And we'll be back with much, much more on Monday. Video's going to drop all weekend long. You know how we do it. I thank you very, very much. Thank you for tuning in. And it breaks my heart to tell you that you don't have to go home now. You just can't stay here.